In this lesson, we're going to talk about the canvas. This is our first lesson in a series of lessons that use the Android graphics system. Previously, when we've worked with the UI, we've worked with the existing standard controls. But what would happen if we wanted to do something like draw a graph or a pie chart? The standard controls don't allow us to do that, so we need to be able to draw our own pie charts and our own controls. The canvas allows us to do that, and we'll see in future lessons how to draw different shapes and have different effects, and how to draw text, and how to optimize some of that. In these upcoming lessons, we'll be using the Android's graphics namespace. And the canvas is the first object we're going to work with. Our activity is simply going to show a drawing exercise. And in this case, we've commented out that section that sets the content view to a resource, because we're not going to use a resource for our view. We're actually going to create our own view, and that's where our drawing code will reside. And we'll set the content view to that view. So in our first view class, we're going to descend from view. And if you remember, activities can have a combination of views. So we can create our own custom view that the activity will display. The constructor will pass us a context object. And more importantly, there is a protected override for onDraw, and it passes us a canvas object. A canvas object is what its name would imply. It's the canvas on which we're going to draw. And in this case, it's a blank canvas, so we can draw whatever we want. It does pass us some information about its height and width, and its top, left, and right. And what we're going to do is we're just going to draw two lines diagonally and essentially make a big X. So we've created a draw line method, and it's going to pass in the coordinates that we want to draw the line to, a color, and a line width, and most importantly, the canvas object. The first thing we do is we create a paint object. And a paint is another crucial object for drawing in Android. The paint object is essentially a stylized paintbrush. You can style it in a multitude of ways. We're simply going to draw a line with it in this lesson, but we'll take a look at some other possibilities later on. But there's an amazing amount of effects that you can put on a paint object. We're going to use the paint object to set up some of our styles. We'll start with the anti-alias and set it to true. This will create a little bit of a smoothing effect to any curves. We're also going to set our style to stroke, which is essentially creating a line, and we'll set our stroke width to the line width parameter that was passed in. And finally, we're going to set our color. Then the canvas has a draw line method where you pass it in the coordinates that you want the line drawn to, and the paint object. So we're calling that draw line twice, and we're passing in the canvas. And the first coordinate is the first X point, and the second coordinate is the first Y point. So we're going from the top left corner. Then the next coordinate is the X point for the end of the line, and this goes all the way over to the right hand side of the screen. And the last coordinate is the bottom of the screen. And we're passing in a color of aqua and a line width of 5. The second line we're going to draw from left to right, but this time we're going to go essentially from the bottom to the top. So let's see what that looks like. So there's our big Aqua X. Now for those of you with sharp eyes, you can see there's a little bit of a problem here. We intended to draw it from the top left corner to the bottom right corner, but you can see we're a bit off. And if you look at this screen, you may be able to figure out why we're a little off. The bottom that we've calculated is more down around in here, which looks a bit like it's offset this amount. But yet we had passed in 0 for the top and our height for the bottom. So you would think that that would make it the correct size, but it actually doesn't. So let's go back and take a look at that code again. And we're using the canvas height and the canvas width. But the canvas actually includes the entire Android screen. And if you remember in the action bar, we can make that action bar go away. So the entire canvas includes the action bar. So what we should really do, instead of this code, is we should use the coordinates passed in to the view object. And it has its own left, top, right, and bottom. So using those and running the code, we end up with the correct result. Top left, bottom right. So that's our first look at drawing on the canvas. In our next lesson, we're going to take a look at some of the tools that we can use, and then we'll get further into shapes in future lessons.